Welcome. Today is day 3 of our menu planning workshop. On day 1, we worked on a kitchen clean out, going through the fridge and the pantry and taking out all of those things that probably shouldn't be consumed anymore, whether that was your old produce or your moldy food or your expired canned or jar food from your pantry. I also suggested that you go through and you clean out some of those things that you know you're not going to eat and donate them. And then we started talking about organizing yourself and really organizing what you had on hand so that you were putting things in places that made sense for you to find them. For example, your spices by the stove versus, hidden away in the pantry. Yesterday, for day 2, we started really talking about that idea of menu planning. And I talked about really picking a day that you thought you were going to give to menu planning and figuring that's probably going to take you about an hour, deciding how you wanted to work on your prep and whether you wanted to prep all at once, you were going to prep at different times throughout the week, you were going to prep fresh for each meal. Personally, I'm one of those people who likes to prep as much as I can ahead on Sunday so that I know that it's ready for the week and I'm not scrambling at the end. We also talked about the importance of figuring out what your weekly schedule was and not planning, say, that lasagna that's going to take a half an hour to put together and an hour to bake for the night when you have 6 activities stacked up in a row. And we also talked about where are you keeping all of your recipes? I personally keep them on a shelf in the pantry. I am an old school gal. And even if I find a recipe online and I print it, I still have to print it. And so I'm an old school gal. I have all my recipes together in the pantry. That way I can pull out what I'm thinking of making. I can check quickly, do I have my ingredients in the pantry that I'm going to need, and start pulling those out. So today is day 3, and we are going to start talking about really creating that menu for yourself. We are halfway through this 5-day workshop, and everyone is doing awesome. Your kitchen's cleaned out, you're organized, and now you're ready to really dive in and start doing that menu planning. So this is actually where your preparation from the last couple days is going to take effect. So I want you to go back and pull that inventory from day 1 and think about all of your planning from day 2. Now, the reason for this is while you're searching for recipes, you're going to keep those details in mind when it comes to both ingredients, what do you have on hand or what will you need to buy, and your time constraints. That's really important. Now, where you pull all of your recipes from is up to you. There are some tried and true favorites that I know people love to pull recipes from, like Pinterest. But I'm going to give you some of my favorites as well, and I will put them in the comments again later, and you also have a number of them in your workbook. There are great recipes on allrecipes.com, 100 Days of Real Food, Simply Recipes, thecleanlife.com, foodnetwork.com, Chowhound, food.com, thekitchen.com, and yumly.com. There are also a number of great recipe apps as well. I just love Googling a few of the ingredients that I have and seeing what comes up. My husband, on the other hand, likes to play Chopped and just pick up a bunch of things and see what he can make with them. Doesn't always produce foods that the kids are willing to eat. So when you're thinking about menu planning and creating your menu, here are some things to pay attention to. What types of recipes fit best in the schedule you laid out for yourself? So you're considering how many crock pot meals do I need to find where my food is going to cook all day and I can easily pull it out at night? How many recipes am I going to need to double so that I can have leftovers for the next day or for lunches? You're also going to want to think about what are the recipes that have similar ingredients. So say if I'm going to brown 4 pounds of ground beef, I want to make sure I'm actually going to be able to use up all of that ground beef during the course of this week. So whether I'm making tacos, or I am making a shepherd's pie with some of that ground beef, or I'm making chili. I want to make sure that I'm choosing recipes where I'm going to integrate those items. Now, number 2, what recipes can you find that include the ingredients you already have on hand? So one of my challenges to myself for this week was to use up everything that was hanging out in my house already, fresh, frozen, or canned. So I'm trying to do this without going out to buy any new ingredients. So we have had to take a look at what we had. So one night we did breakfast for dinner because we had bacon and sausage and pancake mix. One night we're going to be doing chicken Caesar salad. One night we're going to be making a taco salad. Last night we made meatloaf and roasted potatoes. So I was trying to think about using ingredients that I already had on hand so I don't have to go out and buy new at the store. Okay. Third thing that you need to think about is how many serving sizes are in each recipe. Particularly if you're trying a new recipe, you may not know how much it makes in advance. And it's really helpful to look at the serving size and compare. Is that serving size actually going to make enough for my family? I tried a recipe that I thought would make a really good quick chili and didn't have too many ingredients, just tomatoes, onions, and ground beef. Well, I put those ingredients in and realized that once they cooked down, I had enough to serve one person. So paying attention to how many people it's intended to serve and what that serving size is very important. Okay. So write down all of your recipes into your schedule and be sure to include that prep and that cooking time in the schedule as well, so that you really have a good idea of when you need to start cooking just by glancing at your menu. If you're writing your recipes down, write all of your ingredients into a list as you write the recipes. It doesn't have to be a perfectly organized grocery list. It can just be writing down the ingredients as the recipes come up. Be sure to include the quantities needed and check off any that you already have on hand. I don't know about you, but I have multiple copies of some spices because I don't realize that I have it. I write it on my list, I go buy it again and discover I now have 3 jars of the same spice. So I want you to remember, you guys have got this. You've set aside time to find and organize those recipes. You're breaking it down into the steps that I mentioned, and know that this does get faster and easier each week. Now, if you have hit a moment of absolute panic because this has gone above and beyond what you are used to doing, so perhaps you've been living on takeout food or ramen, or you're a parent struggling to balance your busy full-time job with all of those things that you need to do to get healthy meals on the table, you can consider a meal service. There are some that just provide ingredients for you to prepare, such as Blue Apron or HelloFresh. There are others that will bring you already cooked meals that you can heat and eat, like Freshly or Factor. Or you can research restaurants that are near you that prepare family meals that you can pick up hot and ready for the table. For example, there's an amazing Italian restaurant near my house that has a family meal deal on Tuesday nights, which for me was the same night that I had faculty meeting when I was teaching. And I got a main dish, a salad, and bread with enough food left over for lunch the next day for our family of 5. So sometimes you can find meal deals like that. Now, if you're not ready to fully launch into meal planning and preparation for a full week, you really don't also have to keep living on takeout either. You can use some of the strategies that I'm giving you and kind of ease your way into that healthier eating and being more planful. I often work with clients to help them to start where they are and build new habits of meal planning and prepping, rather than having them try to do everything all at once and make a huge change. Now, I haven't seen any comments or questions pop up, but if you do have them later on, feel free to drop them underneath this video. And I will certainly go back and check on those later on. Now, let's help each other out. Drop into the comments your favorite recipe resources so that everybody participating in this challenge and in this group can see them. There are so many wonderful meal planning and recipe websites out there. And I would love to see your finished menus in the comments. Take a picture, post it here for us to see. And again, I'm still going to do a $10 gift card. So this will get you an entry in. Drop your pictures of your cleaned out kitchen or drop your finished menu for everyone to see. I can't wait to talk to you all tomorrow about day 4 items and day 4 activities, which will be all related to grocery shopping like a pro. So again, join me back tomorrow for day 4 as we grocery shop like a pro. I'll see you then.